Good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to share an experience I had, so I thought I'd record a video and share it with you too. So, I have a cat that is fairly young. She's 6 months old, and a couple months ago, I noticed like she had some lumps all over her belly, and I called her veterinarian that I've been seeing since I got her. Well, we had her about 5 months by now, and I had to wait about 2 weeks for an appointment. And when I went into this doctor, the vet is set up different from any other vet I've been to. And I've had pets before, where they come out, they talk to you, and then they take your cat in the back or your pet in the back. So they called me in the back after about 10 minutes, and they asked me what happened because the lumps at this point were fairly large. She had about 6 lumps all over her tummy area. So I explained to them that I noticed some they weren't as big when I called for an appointment, and no other symptoms, but the lumps are there and they're firm to touch. So they said they were going to run some tests. They ran a cytology report to rule out cancer. They ran an X-ray to rule out a hernia, and also to make sure she wasn't pregnant, because at this point she's not fixed. And they ran also blood work to make sure everything was okay, no abnormalities in her blood. And I would get the results in 2 to 3 days. So after they ran all these tests, the vet that I took her to was Marine Park Veterinarian Group, located in Brooklyn, New York. And the bill was about $600, which was a lot. I do have pet insurance. However, if anybody's had pet insurance, you know that you have to pay first and then you get reimbursed. This was on a Wednesday. On Friday, they called me for the results, and they said that the cat, this is not a hernia, it's not cancer. The cat had something called mammary hyperplasia, which I've never heard before. And I'm gonna actually read to you guys what mammary hyperplasia is if you don't know. So basically, feline mammary hyperplasia is a benign, often drastic enlargement of the mammary gland, so by her teats. This syndrome classically has a rapid onset and is demonstrated in both pregnant and non-pregnant unspayed females. So she is obviously unspayed. So the mammary glands became enlarged, and the only way to get rid of them is to have her spayed. So they told me to come back the following Monday to get like a catch up on, just to check her again and see if there's any change, because they did give me an antibiotic when I was there the week prior, and they hoped that it would go down. So it was an oral antibiotic. I went back on Monday, and the vet said, oh, they didn't go down. They actually got larger, which I said, yes, I am well aware of that. At this point, some of the glands are as big as a mango. And so the cat is a small cat. She's having difficulty walking. So it was an issue. So he, at this point, told me that the only way to resolve the issue is to have her spayed. So I said, okay, well, I already have a spay set up with you in November. However, can we move it up? Because at this point, it's the beginning of October. And I was told that he said he's an amazing vet. He's very confident, but he doesn't feel like he can spay her. So they referred me to Verge, Veterinarian Emergency Referral Group, located also in Brooklyn, and to call and make an appointment. So I did as soon as I left there, a little bit perturbed because you can't help me. You charged me, but now you're referring me to somewhere else that now I have to start this process all over again. So at this point, it's October 13th, and Verge was not able to get an appointment until October 22nd, somewhere around that window. I knew I had to wait another 10 to 15 days. So I took my cat back home and hope for the best. So it was a couple days later that I received a call from my boyfriend saying like the cat is really not doing well. And I took her then to veterinary emergency group, which is actually an emergency hospital 24 hours, not too far from my home. And I took her that evening and they assessed her. They also ran, I actually had the paperwork. So at veterinary emergency group, located at 1950 Ralph Avenue. I told them about her condition. They took her temperature, which was normal, her heart rate, which was normal, her respiratory. They indicated that ears, mouth, musculoskeletal, and heart all normal, no murmurs or arrhythmias found, and that will be important later. They checked everything, her eyes, obviously they noted that the glands are huge, and they ran CBC, more blood work, they didn't take x-rays, but they did give her an antibiotic, which was an injectable this time. They said the reason why she probably is lethargic is because sometimes oral antibiotics that I got at the first place tend to make the cat nauseous on not eating. So they gave also something that I didn't get at the first place. They said they were giving her an anti-inflammatory injection, which would help bring the hyperplasia down. So I was very hopeful, very happy that now maybe this will decrease so I can get her spayed properly. So after going to see them, they also hit me with a bill of $540. But the only thing good with that is that I could have submitted it to my insurance versus paying up front. So that was a plus. Again, they told me they don't spay there because this is an emergency clinic and spaying is considered routine, but she needs to get spayed right away because this is a critical issue. So I really didn't understand that, but sure. So then I had no choice but to wait to go to Verge. So this was October 17th. So my appointment with Verge was coming up the following week, and I took a cab because it's a little further from my home. Went to Verge, again, evaluated her. Again, they had to take, run all the tests over again, which I don't understand because all my records were there. But I feel like they know people love their pets. And it's a con. It is absolutely a con that now you have to run the same test over again that I've had very recently, and you have my records, and I brought them just in case. But they ran everything again, and this was where it's interesting because this particular veterinarian said, I'm looking over your paperwork from both vets that you saw recently, and they don't mention a murmur, but your cat has a heart murmur, a very severe heart murmur, which I'm like, how, if it's so severe that the vet that she's been seeing since I got her 5 months ago, and now this vet that I saw last week did not notate any murmurs and even put on the paperwork, no murmurs detected. I said, is it possible that because the mammary glands now are so inflamed, they're pressing on her, that maybe you're hearing just something else? His answer, no. But he said, rest assured, I can spay her. However, you have to see a cardiologist first. Good thing, we have a traveling cardiologist that will be here tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, what? A cardiologist? How much is that going to cost? They said, well, I don't know. You have to get an echo, and it'll be about $900 to $1,000 depending. And they don't give you the results. They just send it to us, and depending on what they find, we can do the spay if it's not as serious, or you have to get that treated first with like a catheter. They unclog, they like open up the valve leading to the heart to help the murmur. I don't know. He said something like that, to that effect. And we don't know how much that's going to cost either. But if you want to sit down with a actual cardiologist to discuss the paperwork, I can refer you to a colleague that has an office not too far from there, but you would have to pay those fees as well. So at this point in my head, I'm doing calculations and I'm like, okay, $1,000 just for the echo. Let's say they find something, who knows how much that would be to fix it. And then can I get a quote for how much you are going to charge to spay my animal? So he had me wait in the lobby while they got the quote together. The quote to spay my pet. Now, if you don't live in New York and you live somewhere else, maybe it's different prices for spaying, but in New York, I looked it up, and the average to spay a cat, a female cat, ranges anywhere from $350 to $650, $700. In that range, depending on the age of the cat, depending if they're in heat or not at the time. And then there's the ASPCA route, which will charge $50 to $100, depending on if you're where your income bracket falls. But either way, it should not be the price that I got on this paper, which on the low end was $3,300, but on the high end, and because she has mammary hyperplasia so severely, he said it more likely would be the high end price was $4,430 for IV, for epidurals, for overnight stays, for ligature closures, for oral meds, and a whole list of fees. The actual spay on here, it is here, over hysterectomy feline, $919 is what they charge for the actual spay. And then there are a whole bunch of additives that they add on. So $4,500 plus $1,000 for the echo. I'm already at $5,500 plus whatever else they will charge. So I said, forget it. Went home, tried a lot of natural remedies for the cat, castor oil and aloe and warm compresses. Nothing seemed to be working. So it wasn't until this was on a Monday. It wasn't until that Friday that I said, the cat looked like she was suffering. She didn't eat all day on the Friday. I was working from home and she really looked bad. So I had a tough discussion with my boyfriend, and we decided that instead of putting her down, maybe we could take her to ACC and surrender her. So ACC, if you've never heard of it, it stands for, let me get the paperwork here. It stands for Animal Care Center of New York City. So this location was in Brooklyn, and we looked it up online, and basically if you don't have an appointment, they charge you $50 to surrender your animal. So we took her there around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we had to wait outside. Someone came out and spoke to us. Her name was Ray. She is a surrender prevention coordinator, and that's important because she said they couldn't take her because they were full, and we kind of explained to her that we are having a lot of issues. She's not eating, and we just didn't want anything to happen to her. We don't want the animal suffering. So she kind of spoke to someone, came back and said, okay, it is $50. They will take her. And so we kind of explained to her the condition. Then she kind of started asking some more questions. She said, well, let me take her in the back and speak to the vet, and don't go anywhere, and I'll be right back. So she came back and she said, well, yeah, this condition, she has to get spayed. And we told her the frustrations of not being able to get anyone to spay her. We told her about taking her to Verge and getting quoted $4,500 and the heart murmur. And she said, well, it's a shame, but a lot of vets, they will try to get over because they know people love their pets and they want to milk you for as much as they can. So she came back and she said the vet actually gave her an anti-inflammatory injection. And I was like, oh, she had that at the other emergency place, veterinarian emergency group, and it did absolutely nothing. But she said, okay, well, I'm not supposed to, but we will do it. And she said, if we could help you, would you keep your pet? And I said, absolutely. We just are at our wits' end. So she filled out different paperwork and she referred us to Lefferts Animal Hospital in Queens. And she said they will do your spay, and we will pay for the exam, we will pay for any medication, and we will pay for the spay, and you don't have to pay And at this point, I'm like, they'll spay her. I'm very pleased. I'm very happy. And she gave us like some food to take home. She gave us a lot of things. And basically, she told us that she will, follow up. She'll help us. And her job is to prevent you from surrendering your pet. So if they can help you any way they can, they will. So we took her home that evening. She started eating. And actually, by the nighttime, her mammary hyperplasia was already deflating. Like the glands felt much softer and a little bit smaller. So I was hopeful. So we had an appointment for the following Tuesday at Lefferts Animal Hospital. And by the weekend, the mammary glands were about 70% smaller from that one shot that ACC gave us. And we did not have to pay any money. How is it the free place that didn't charge us anything and moreover is sending us somewhere and paying for everything has helped us more than 3 places that has charged over $1,000 between them? It is an absolute shame. And the cat, I must say right now, is thriving. We did take her the following Tuesday to get spayed. Lefferts Animal Hospital did give us a bill for our records just in case we needed it. Although ACC paid for everything, the only thing we paid for is to get there. And they actually, their bill was $720 with the spay, with the anesthesia, with everything. That's how much they charge. So even if we were paying out of pocket to see a place for $700 and something, and that's with everything included, and then Verge that's charging $4,500 for I don't know what. It just goes to show you that all those extra fees that a lot of us tack on, look into it. Don't just be ready to pay because you're afraid for your pet. Shop around, look into what they're actually charging, because right now the cat, she's good. She's still recovering from her spay, but she's moving around. She's back to her old self, and the hyperplasia is pretty much like 95% gone. So I really need to share those experiences with you. And I had to put those vets on blast because it's an absolute shame. When I called veterinarian emergency group back a couple days later after taking her there and just asking, do you sure you can't spay her or anything else? Their response was no, because that's a routine procedure, but you can bring her back in. We could run more tests. There will be obviously an additional charge. And I'm just like, I understand it's a business, but it shouldn't be a crooked business. You shouldn't prey on people that want to save their pets and just charge all these fees for no reason. So please shop around if you can, and do your research. That's the most important thing. Do your research, because sometimes they feel when people have no choice, they'll just pay anything. But that's my suggestion to you. Thank you for listening to my rant/story, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye. This is Luna. See, she has a little collar from being spayed. I'm going to hold up. This is a little incision site. And you can see this is where she had the hyperplasia, like really severely down here. But it's pretty much gone now. And up here she had a little bit, and I can barely feel it now. Back to her old self. Say hi, Linda.